that. So I started this job by myself. When the dozer got brought out there, I didn't get a chance to get any good video or pictures. So these pictures from the beginning are from the customer. I was too busy, or too willing to get to work, too ready to get to work right away. That's after day one, trying to mainly just bring in all the silt from the bottom and filling all the cracks in the back and along the sides, all the erosion spots in there. Going to use any of that rest of that dirt to mix in with them sacks of bentonite. I wish I'd have brought some carpet with me for this one, because I kept breaking straps. If I'd have put some carpet around the forks, it wouldn't have broke straps, and it wouldn't have lost as much bentonite everywhere. And we waited on machines that morning for the roller and the skid steer for till after lunchtime that morning. The delivery was late, so that's why you see us cutting to that road. We had a delivery of rock being supposed to be there at 10:30, and they dropped the rock off right as the machines got there and right as the bentonite got there, so it was a big mess right when all this is going on. That's why we didn't get a whole lot of good video of the road. We were in a rush to get back up here and start spreading this stuff. But it wasn't much, it was just a small pothole. The customer drives a car up about 1.5 miles of dirt road, and it was the only bad spot. You see, we're just unloading the bentonite here, taking it down, trying to get that truck driver's been waiting for 4.5 hours on it for us. So all we wanted to do is get that bentonite unloaded and stacked and get him out of there as fast as we could. It's like 2 o'clock at this point. So now we're just trying to spread it out, trying to actually get the feel for spreading it out with that skid steer. It was a little heavy. It was about as much as that machine could handle. You start heading down the hill like that, nose down, it would get a little tippy on you. So the trick was to start down at the bottom of the pond and work up. That way it gets lighter as you go up. It didn't feel as bad moving up and down with that skid steer at that point. And then we kind of missed some video here later on. After we rolled that top edge on the top to mix it in with the bentonite, the top edge, we went ahead and took the took the tractor with the landscaping rake and spread out as much of the bentonite at the bottom as we could, then tracked it in, and then brought in another 5 loads of bentonite and spread on the bottom. But that was we were trying to make up for lost time from the truck driver coming late to drop off the machines, so we didn't get a lot of that content in there like we wanted. We were hustling that third day to get everything in it, or done, finished, rolled in. There was a bunch of trees behind that skid steer on that back edge there, and we had to push those way up the hill there, and we had to do a lot of final cleanup on that, getting all the roots, all the rocks out of the way, getting it all out of their pasture. So we were hustling on that third day to get all this done. This is the last part of day 2 though, right here. We got all 15 bags that came, or 16 bags that came on that first truck spread out. Got that top edge rolled in about 4 hours. Called it a day because we got tired of waiting that day. We just wanted to get all that bentonite out and get home. Feed animals. But it wasn't too bad. The machine handled it pretty good going up and down them slopes. That back slope right there doesn't look like it, but it's pretty steep. They wanted to get tippy when you get up close to that top edge. She got a little dusted out there. Should have brought her mask with her. She looks mad at me though. She's walking like she's mad at me. It was dusty. Those machines were white when this was all done. filled with powder everywhere. It was no fun being down on the bottom there when I was spreading that stuff, so I'm sure she just wanted to get the hell away from me. That's my wife, by the way, running down there, helping me do all the cutting of the bags, running up and down, checking on all the cameras, running back down to unhook or, take the straps off of the forks when I couldn't get them to slide off easily. She was hustling that day. She said by the end of the day, her legs, she could feel it because she probably ran 2 miles up and down that pond dam over and over again that day. Trying to keep the bag as low to the ground as possible wasn't working. I thought maybe keeping it dragging on the ground would keep that hole opened up enough to where it would spread right, but no, it didn't work. It just made a big dusty mess no matter what I did. Wind up getting down to that last little bit and having to open the cab, lift it up, open the cab door and cut them, or lift them up, lift that last little 10 pounds out, and shake that last little 10 pounds out of the bag. That stuff's expensive, you don't want to waste none. But it laid out nice. Made it running that landscape rake up and down at the first pass, mixing it in. It was easy. Did a good job. They had a good amount of clay on the bottom. They said, the customer said when they first bought the property, around the first time they bought the property, 10 years ago or so, they had somebody come in and dig it out and said that they got in a clay area and that the pond would be sealed up, but it looked like they got into about a 2 or 3 inch layer down on the bottom. Tried to spread that out as much as they could. So when I dug it deeper, I took as much of that clay off the bottom as I could, spread it up, kept it at the windrow all along the top. That way I could spread it over the top layer of bentonite on the top edge, and then keep that kind of packed in, give it some extra protection up there. Because the bottom, after I got it dug out, the bottom 4.5, 5 foot of it had a good layer of clay in it. It was just the top, maybe 3 foot, 4 foot, that needed the bentonite and everything to keep it sealed in. Once it's we get a few more rains, it should be filled up now. Should hold water for a long time after this. She comes again trying to lift that last little bit up that never wanted to come out. See, if you untie it and just untie the bag, it'll spill out so fast that you don't have much time to spread it. I mean, you could just dump it out in piles, but then you're spending a whole lot of time with a dozer or another, with a skid steer on the bucket, spreading it out, trying to mix it in that way. And that stuff, it was a pretty windy day. It doesn't look like it in the pictures, but it was pretty windy. And if you start spreading it like that, that stuff just goes everywhere. You wind up losing a lot of material. Don't seem like it, but that stuff will go everywhere. The trees on that backside on the third day were white because of how much wind happened, or how much wind was overnight. That second night blew it everywhere. The stuff that we didn't get covered up yet. So I chose to just cut a small 6 or 7 inch slit in it at the bottom and just go up and down as slow as we could. Nice little windrows like that. That way it was easy to rake out. Made it. There wasn't any extra time really spreading it out that way. It made it when I was covering it up right here and mixing it in down at the bottom layers. It made it a whole lot easier. And here's, like I was talking about, taking that clay that I had stacked down up at the top, taking it and running a windrow about halfway down, kind of stabilizing. We'd already mixed in the first layer at this point. This was the second layer of bentonite that we have sitting there now. We went ahead and spread that out at some point, I believe, and mixed it in real good, and then ran the roller over it real good. See over there on that edge, that's our spillway, that little dip there behind the dozer. So we tried to stabilize that pretty good all the way out too, because we get a lot of rain in this area, so they wanted to keep as much of the water in there as possible, and they didn't want to put a culvert or anything in that area, so tried to keep it stabilized too. And here we're back to finishing that little road. Truck driver's waiting on us, that's why we had to stop the bentonite, hook up the bucket, come over here and spread this out real quick, and then go back and finish unloading all the bentonite, spreading it all out. I was just getting it knocked down so the truck drivers and the landowners could drive over. Wasn't trying to do nothing pretty at this point. Gonna come back at the end of the day and finish it all up with the tractor. is day 3 on this job, so when I get done here, we have my whole family with me, my wife, my 2 girls. So I let my oldest daughter Jocelyn ride that skid steer all the way back up to the homeowner's house, about a mile up that dirt road. She had fun. I think she got a little mad because she had to wait on us. We were talking to another landowner for a few minutes up the road, and she just sat at the gate in the machine, not sure what to do, for about 10 minutes. She was patient. She did good. back on the end of the day with the tractor just to run the landscape, bring the rake over it. It's got an angle blade on it, so I can pull any of that stuff off of the edges and bring it back to the middle and just kind of feather it out of the middle. Nothing much. Did most of the work with the skid steer. I like the finish that thing leaves at the end of after you've leveled this area out. It does a pretty good finish. Kind of takes away any of the track marks that I left in it with the skid steer that you'd feel bumpy going down your little road in. It just makes it a smoother finish. I had a sheep's foot roller on this job, so I couldn't bring that out to pack anything in, so that just gives it a better finish when you're going up and down your road. You see me getting out, moving, angling the rake back and forth to either side just to pull that material in back to the middle, and then I feather it all back out. Take that tractor back and load it up, and then I think we went to finishing up the Bentonite that day. Or no, this was the end of the job. This was the end of the job. After this, I went ahead and loaded the tractor. And then you go back down to the end and center the blade back up and run back over it a couple more times, and that was about it. Right about where the tractor's sitting right now is where there's a big pothole, about 1.5 feet deep, but it made it hard for them to get their cars, the homeowners, to get their cars in and out. So instead of just fixing that one little pothole, because there were several in that area that were going to get bad, we just brought a load in and cleaned up that whole little section. We've already brought that second load of Bentonite in. You can see it spread along the top over that dirt that we already rolled back in, and we spread everything out now twice. Now we're going ahead and just rolling it in. We having a fit on this roller. It was a rental. For some reason, as you're going up the hill, you get about a quarter of the way up the hill, and no matter what you did, it wanted to bog down on you and die out. My wife was rolling on that first day as I was bringing that windrow around the top end back down, and it died on her a couple times. Excuse my language. It was just a fit. We fought it and fought it and fought it. I mean, for a day and a half. I mean, got the job done, but it was a nightmare. Vibrate, you couldn't get it to vibrate half the time and get it all packed in. Keep some of that edge stabilized. Right where we're rolling right now, there was a bunch of, see, in between those trees coming down that hill, there was about a 3-foot cut there from the erosion coming down the hill, and then a couple more along that bank where we're rolling, so I wanted to make sure that was all packed in real good. I think we did 20 loads, 23,000 pound super sacks of bentonite on this job. So this was the last we see sitting up on top. After we've mixed everything in on the first 16 loads, this was the last 4 bags left that we kind of just spread out everywhere, raked in as good as we can, and kind of leave it sitting on top. Maybe seal any of the stuff that we missed underneath. There it is, right there. You can see it wanted to stall out going up the hill, midway up the hill. It was a pain in the butt. We managed to get it to work and do a good job.